mission statement for the Lake Mills Area School District is preparing all of today's students for tomorrow's opportunities. Has the meeting been properly posted?
Yes, it was posted on the LMASD website at the Lake Mills Post Office and submitted to the Lake Mills Leader.
All right, well then, we will welcome you all to this meeting, and I will call this to order. All those who are able can stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, a roll call for attendance.
Brianna Beslick. Here. Ken Eimers.
Here.
Andrea Graham. Abby Hale. Here. Amy Litcher.
Here. All right, are there, from the board members, are there any wanted revisions to the agenda?
I'll move the board approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, it passed. So we will move on to administrative reports, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Olson.
All right, we're going to start out tonight with the web presentation from the middle school. And I just want to preface this by saying that I know web isn't new, but it's been really fun to watch the progress at the middle school over the past several years, to see the amount of student leadership that we've seen. So not only do we have the web program, but we have the Leader in Me program, and I've just really seen our middle schoolers stepping up and taking charge of their school environment and the community. So with that, I will introduce Alexa Halverson and Tracy Voigt, who are web leaders, and they can introduce the students.
Okay, go ahead. We are gonna let our students spent the whole week preparing this presentation, so Jordan Berg, Chloe Cullen, and Brooklyn Grundle are three of our web leaders, so they are gonna take the lead. We will be here to answer any questions they can't, but they are fully informed as well. And they're just gonna share all of the prep work they did once they became web leaders, what they did over orientation, and then what we've done so far this school year, and then moving forward as well.
So yeah, welcome to our web presentation. My name is Jordan Berg, and I go to Lake Mills Middle School, and I'm a web leader there. I do many things during the school year through like sports and stuff like that. So.
Hi, I'm Brooklyn Grundle. I'm a web leader at the Lake Mills Middle School, and I play basketball and volleyball at the school.
I'm Chloe Cullen. I'm also a web leader, and I do 3 sports: soccer, dance, and wrestling, and I'm also a web leader.
Okay, to start off, what is WEB? WEB stands for Where Everyone Belongs. WEB is a middle school orientation and transition program that welcomes 5th graders along with new students to make them feel welcome and comfortable throughout their first year of their middle school experience. WEB is important because the quality of a student's transition to middle school sets the course of their educational future, not only in middle school, but also in high school and further education. Being a web leader means that we work to be supportive to newer students, helping them transition to an unfamiliar environment, making them feel more comfortable and open to learning. Also, being a web leader doesn't just benefit others, but being a web leader also means to better yourself, helping yourself transition to a more mature environment like the high school where leadership is beneficial.
Training. During training, we learned how to make people feel welcome and what to do during the 5th grade orientation. The purpose of the training is for us to learn how to be a leader so that 5th graders can look up to us as role models. The training also makes us better leaders by helping us work with people we're not used to. All of this helps us become better leaders, students, and people in general.
So we had many training days leading up to the orientation, and during those during those days we learned many games such as balloon bounce, we did balloon bounce, which was there to teach teamwork, and it helps being in a new environment. We did the name ball scramble. This was there to learn the names of the people in our group. We did My World. We learned how to draw and write about some of our favorite things and to get to know each other. We also did Words of Wisdom. This was there to give important advice to the fifth graders about how middle school works and how to stay positive in the middle school.
Orientation. What does orientation day look like? A day where incoming fifth graders meet their web leaders for the first time. We plan lots of fun activities for them to get to know our school. We also have a tour for them to get to know where their lockers are, their classrooms, and the rest of the school. We also introduce the school to incoming new students for the current year. What are some roles of the day? For example, some roles were greeters, people that handed out name tags, the announcer, and some of us sat with fifth graders to make them feel welcome.
Orientation. Why was orientation day so important for the incoming fifth graders? We got a chance to give the kids a tour and introduce them to the school. During the activities that we played with them, we introduced them what kind of people we should be and what kind of people we can be. We showed them what kind of school Lake Mills is. We showed them what they should act during the school day.
Web work during the school year. What have we done so far, you may think? We did a recess hangout where we went out and hung out with them during their recess and played different games with them. There was activity night. That was really fun. If you have any questions, I'd ask them. I wasn't there, but we had a class. Everybody went down into a different classroom and we did a classroom lesson about attitude and how it affects your altitude. Why do we do these things? We do these things to practice leadership and to teach how to find our core values. We do these things also to continue to motivate kids and remind them that they have people in the school that care about them and that will hang out with them. Thank you again for listening.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions?
I had a question. Thank you for the nice presentation. It was really, it's a wonderful program. I was wondering how long the program lasts for the individual or the web group. Do they go into the school year very far, or?
When did you start?
We start kind of at the end of our 7th grade. We get chosen, and then we do one training day during 7th grade, and then we work during the summer, and then we do it throughout our whole 8th grade year.
Okay.
Well, we have web during core, so 30 minutes would be like your homeroom class.
Okay, thank you.
Experience it as fifth graders and now as the leaders of Web. What ideas that, what was the advice that you took from as fifth grade, and now what are the advice you're giving out as 8th graders?
Some of the advice that, are you asking like what advice I would give? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you guys were 5th graders, I'd say, I'd tell you guys to stay positive and make sure you had a friend group that you knew that might change sometimes, but make sure you have a friend that will always stay with you through and through, that will help you get through your middle school career.
Okay. All right.
I was going to say thank you for being here and sharing. We always love having student input and things that they're doing. Having a 5th grader, right, it's really great to be able to see the building, kind of transition easily, and to have, like you said, those 8th graders there to help you and be supportive throughout the year. And then it was interesting because we had a church lock-in before the event, so I kind of got an 8th grade perspective on the whole event and their training and all of that. So that was really fun to see kind of both sides of it. And I think as you like you said, go on in your own career and just continue to be good role models, especially as that 5th grade can be a hard transition. And now knowing as a freshman next year, hey, I've got this one up, I know what to do, and I can take that with me through the rest of life. High school, college, working, beyond. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on. Enrollment update.
All right, we didn't share the slideshow, right, Dave, did you? Okay, well, no, Dave had the budget update. Does he have the enrollment slideshow? No? Yes, he should. Oh, Dave, do you have the enrollment slideshow, this one titled School Board Presentation? Nope, not that one.
It was attached as a PowerPoint, Dave.
Otherwise, I can just, okay. Otherwise, I can just talk through that. So, board members, you have that in the packet, and it's in the public version of board docs. So just a quick, I want to go a little bit more in depth with the third Friday count. And so just when you see in the news the amount of information over there about declining birth rates and things like that. We actually are only down 10 students overall this year, which is actually a lot less than I think what I've seen in a lot of the surrounding districts. And we can account that or attribute that to the fact that we have some larger high school classes yet. So this senior class is one of the last of the large senior classes. So as we are graduating about 126 students, the new incoming average is closer to about 90-ish, so 85, 90. So our average class sizes right now are hovering around 103, which when you think about our ability to have 5 sections per our spaces in all 3 of our schools, that's about perfect. So that's about 20 students or so per grade level. So we are, I think, really solid as far as enrollment is going. A couple of things that we started looking at were that we're still addressing space challenges, and I wanted to make note of that even though we're adding a 4-room addition onto the elementary school, just as a reminder that that is being done because the elementary school was built without 4K and early childhood spaces. So really this is this building project is still to allow for those spaces to occur. And even with that, I will say we don't have really any additional space in our elementary beyond what we are going to have in that addition. What we are seeing, though, however, at the early levels is a rising need in special education. We are seeing an increasing trend in our speech services and also our occupational services. We, through research that we've been reading, are attributing that to 2 things. One is still after effects of the pandemic, and the second would be to screen time. So if you look at birth to age 4 type of normal childhood development, we know that those speech windows that occur in a young toddler's brain occur at specific stages, and that usually happens with parents talking directly to their child. If children are on screens or other, and TV does not help with that either, that some of those speech windows tend to close, and so we are seeing a dramatic increase in speech needs. We're also seeing more needs come through the early childhood system where we have more dramatic physical needs as well. So again, the fact that we're addressing the early childhood spaces in this addition is also going to be really important. Another interesting fact is the economic diversity we're seeing in our kindergarten class. So 27% of that class is economically disadvantaged. So even though we're seeing some of the class sizes become maybe a little bit smaller, the needs are still there. So the need for staffing, the need to address those needs early on to make sure that we do not see any academic gaps starting at kindergarten, because there's a strong correlation between economically disadvantaged students and their academic achievement. It's not that we can't overcome that, but we need to make sure that we're very intentional with our staffing and making sure that our curriculum is in alignment. Thank you to Aaron and Wendy and our reading specialists who've worked very hard on that, along with our teaching staff at the elementary. So just in conclusion, just looking ahead, after those next 2 classes graduate, we're seeing a stabilization in our class sizes. We should have addressed our facility needs through this the referendum last November, but just the fact that we are going to be looking closely at our support services to make sure that all students' needs are addressed. And I've also included an enrollment grid that's not in this slideshow too, so that you can see the cohorts of students that are moving through, and you can see that they've been relatively stable in their class sizes throughout their career here in Lake Mills. Any questions then?
I was just going to say, with kind of those upcoming needs that you were talking about, I know it's always ideal to try and push in as much as we can to support kids within their regular ed classroom, but, you know, in the sense or in the case that we would need some sort of pull-out or maybe small group intervention, do you feel like we still have those spaces available for future needs that we're seeing?
We will. Right now, the 4K, 2 of the 4K classrooms are in the Flex Studios is what they were called when the school was built upstairs. So it's a smaller size classroom, but not large enough to actually be a legitimate classroom. So those 2 spaces offer some breakout spaces. And I would say that the teachers at the elementary have done a commendable job as far as using what used to be the teacher workspace in the neighborhoods. Now all those spaces are being used by either our special ed staff. I see our literacy coaches in the neighborhoods doing intervention in those spaces. So they try not to pull the students completely out into their own office and workspace, but they do, if they need a quieter space for that small group instruction, they're able to still pull them out of the classroom, but be in close proximation with the classroom, which I think is ideal.
Good. Any other questions? I know I had one about open enrollment, and the idea of, is there a target to keep all the classes around the 5 sections and supplement with open enrollment? Or if there's a big class that has, say, 130 kids coming through, then
So-
we would cut off open enrollment?
Right, so when we set, the board approves the open enrollment numbers in January, and there's a formula that we have to abide by. So if we are going to set limits in those classes, there has to be some kind of formula. So what we use is the class size guidelines that the board has discussed. So we look at that ratio, so we keep the teacher to student ratio at that level. So that's why the numbers differ from grade level to grade level. If we're already over those numbers, then the open enrollment spaces would be 0 at that time. So we make sure that we never allow enough open enrollment to go in where it would warrant like a 6th section at the elementary. So we try to stay to those 5 sections where we have room. It's because of space, but it also is because of budget, where we wouldn't want to hire another teacher.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. And on to Ms. Naylor.
Hi.
Okay, all right, thanks, Dave. So my name's Tasha Naylor, Director of Business Services, and tonight I'm going to talk about our budget update for the 25-26 school year. So the things I'm going to cover tonight are just some highlights of our budget. We'll talk a little bit more about private school vouchers, the tax levy, and then I say the final budget, but we'll call it maybe more of a revised budget. As we know, budgets are ever changing. So the revised budget that we will be approving. So next slide. Before we get into kind of the budget, I'd like to talk again about revenue limits. And as we go through the presentation, this will be relevant. So I think it's important to kind of remind everybody what a revenue limit is. So the revenue limit is going to be the maximum amount of revenue that can be raised through the general state aid and property taxes. So on this slide, you'll see that the state aid is represented in the green color or the green bucket. Property taxes represented in blue, and then the middle cup we'll call the revenue limit. So that's the maximum amount that can be raised through those 2 sources. It's important to understand the relationship between state aid and property taxes. They're as one goes up, the other goes down. So state aid, as that increases, the revenue that we receive through property taxes goes down, and vice versa. If state aid goes down, the revenue goes up. So it's really important to kind of understand those 2 things, especially this year. In the state biennial budget this year, I'll refer to it as the 25-27 budget. The state did not add any additional state aid. So by law, the revenue limit was able to increase by $325 per pupil. So that middle bucket, school districts were given the authority to raise that. However, the green portion of that, the state aid portion, did not increase. Therefore, to fill that bucket to the maximum revenue, property taxes will be seeing an increase. So this slide just kind of shows a little representation of that. The last time that the state had no increase in general aid was the 2009-2011 budget. Yes, was there a question?
I was going to ask just that, yeah.
Yep, so 2009-2011 was the last time that's happened. So I'll say in general, that revenue limit, that middle bucket, has increased throughout the years at a per pupil rate. But we've always seen the state aid also increase. So property tax owners have had some share of the burden with that increase in the revenue limit for many years. Last time we didn't see that was in 2009-2011.
So just to be maybe clear, like we used to get increases based on inflation, some index for inflation.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't occurred since that time as well,
Yes.
2010 or something.
And I don't have that slide in here, but it's something I can certainly bring back to show how big that gap has gotten between inflation and what we've received over the years. I'd be happy to bring that back.
Thank you.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide. On October 15th, school districts received the general aid certification from DPI. So this is a big day for the school districts from the finance or the business office, because we learn a lot about what we're going to be able to actually have for the year, and we learn about our private school vouchers and all the pieces, so we can finalize or revise the budget and then also calculate the tax levy. So this year, you can see in that under the state aid, our state aid dropped to about 8.6 million from 9.3 million last year. And that directly ties into that middle section that is our total tax levy. You can see the total tax levy in 25-26 increased to 13.8 million, almost $1 million more than last year. And so that really has a lot to do with that $325 per pupil not being funded and the whole burden going on to taxpayers. In addition to into that is we also saw an increase in our vouchers this year. So that has a lot to do with the reason that levy has increased so much from last year to this year. And I'll talk a little bit more about vouchers as we go. And then finally, the mill rate. The mill rate has increased to $7.37 from the $7.27 last year. So a mill rate represents a taxing rate over every $1,000 of property value. So to break that down, for the math down a little bit, for a property owner, at a mill rate of $7.37, a property owner would pay $737 for every $100,000 of home value. So you can kind of do the math from there. And then in a little bit later, I'll break down that $737 into each fund and how that breaks down as well. Okay, next slide, please.
Just to
Sure.
accentuate the referendum and everything associated with it is not part of.
Correct. In fact, and that'll be something I'll show you.
Okay.
It actually went down. The 39 fund levy went down a little bit. So that has to do with the increases in the equalization of the property, or the property valuation, not equalization.
Yeah.
So it actually went down a little bit, but I'll get to that.
Okay.
And I was going to say too, I mean, we've historically kind of been a lower mill rate in our surrounding communities, and
Yes.
everybody's kind of being hit the same. So I would expect that we're probably still very low comparatively to our neighbors.
Yes, and I can bring that back as well after, I think a lot of school districts are setting their levy tonight. And after that is entered into DPI, I can easily look that up and do a comparative of our surrounding areas. So a few highlights since our annual meeting. We had the annual meeting in September, and so that's where we discussed some preliminary revenues and expenditures. We provided a preliminary tax levy as well as the tax rate. Since then, we've done some adjustments with all the information that we've received. Private vouchers will be my next slide. We also adjusted our open enrollment. So we fortunately are a net positive with our open enrollment. We have 128 students that open enroll into our school district, and we have 101 students that open enroll out of our district. That open enrollment dollar amount that's tied to each student increased this year. So that means with us having that net positive, it was good for our district. It gave us a little more revenue than we've had in the past with that difference. I also did some adjustments on the teacher stipends and supplemental increases that were approved by the board. Adjusted some grant revenue that we find out kind of after that annual meeting, as well as finished up some hiring, so some staff benefits were also adjusted from the annual meeting to tonight's budget. And then the revenue for the mental health over the 2-year biennium, it wasn't even between the 2 years. There was more on the first year than the second year, so I just made a little adjustment there as well. Okay, next slide, please. So supporting private vouchers. So this is another piece of information that's released on October 15th. And the chart here shows how vouchers have impacted Lake Mills specifically over the years. You can see in 2016-17, we had, it was actually just under $60,000 that were part of the voucher program. And as the years go on, there's a little dip, but you can see we had a pretty big spike in 25-26. Even over last year, we've increased from about $275,000 to $385,000 this year. And we also have some students that are part of the Special Needs Scholarship Program, which is represented in the red this year, which is the first year that we've had some students under that. It was about a 40% increase from last year, which was something that surprised me when I saw it. DPI isn't able to provide us with what students are going to these districts, but we do know that we have approximately 14 students in the K-8, 14 in the 9-12, and then those 3 students who are the Special Needs Scholarship Program. And the dollar amounts are listed on this slide, and the math does equal out to that $385,000. So some people might ask, how does voucher funding work? And so kind of a simple way of breaking it down is the state calculates the voucher payments for eligible students that are eligible for private choice schools. And that amount is paid to those private schools after it has been reduced by the state aid is reduced. So it's funded by reducing that state aid, that green bucket that I showed in the beginning of the slide, that would have otherwise gone to the students' resident public schools. And then after that, to offset the loss from the state aid, the school board has the authority to increase the local property taxes to make up for that amount. So essentially, in short, it's voucher funding comes out of the school district state aid and it's replaced with local property taxes. One of the other pieces, actually I'll skip that and I'll go get into it in a second. Private school vouchers this past year in their biennium had an increase in the per pupil in the first year at $640 per pupil. And in the 26-27 school year, it'll be $428 per pupil. So I think that's important to note that it's significantly more than the revenue limit increase of $325 that the public schools are seeing. Any questions with that?
So just to clarify, the 0.21% or 21 cent mill rate, that is passed on directly to the taxpayers for school vouchers?
Yes.
Okay.
So last year that was 15 cents, and with this increase, it's calculating out to 21 cents of our mill rate.
Okay.
And Tasha, I haven't specifically read this, but I've been told that the cap for vouchers goes away after the 26th school year. Have you read anything like that?
I've read some things. I wouldn't be able to, I don't have the exact final answer on that. I'd have to read a little bit more about it, but there has been some discussion about that cap going away.
Okay.
Does the voucher for the special needs, Does the voucher for the special needs scholarship program, is that different than other vouchers, or it's just different money flow in, flow out?
It's funded and flown in and out the same way, but it's students that qualify for those special needs scholarship program. You can see it's a significantly different amount as well. But it's the same program. It's under those private school parent choice programs.
Kind of a different calculation at the end. Okay.
Okay, so the next slide. This slide shows our tax levy comparison history over about the last 6 years. So you can see that there's some years where the overall levy, it's kind of hard to see on the slideshow, I apologize for that, but in the top table, the bottom line, you can see that's our total levy. So you can see how it's kind of fluctuated throughout the years. One of the largest increases that we had was in the 23-24 school year when the low revenue ceiling increased to $11,000. And so low revenue ceiling, I'll just explain a little bit about what that is. So under state law, districts are allowed a minimum amount or a low revenue ceiling per member. So in 2023, that was increased to $11,000, and that resulted in the tax increase for our taxpayers. Prior to that, the maximum revenue that we were receiving was $10,121. So you can see that was a significant increase for the school district as well as the taxpayers. On average, that the amount per pupil that districts get in the state of Wisconsin, the average is $12,443, and the highest that you will see in the state is over $26,000. So you can see there's a large discrepancy between the school districts. Again, we're at $11,650 in our revenue limit because of over the past 2 years we've increased that $325 from the $11,000 that it went up to in 23-24. So we're at $11,650 this year. Some districts are at $26,000 per member. So just something I kind of wanted to point out as we're talking about school finance in Wisconsin.
And Tasha, is it still the case, I'm thinking it's still the case, but it might not be, that we have the lowest revenue limit in the state along with several other districts?
We are on the low end. There are a couple districts that are actually lower than us. So there is one little clause with the low revenue ceiling that if you've tried to pass an operational referendum and you fail, you aren't able to increase to that low revenue ceiling. So that is the case for, I think it's 2 districts at this point. Don't quote me for sure, but I know it's not many, but there are a couple that are lower than us. But otherwise, yes, we're one of a few number of districts that are on the low end.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the second slide here, this is the breakdown of the mill rate by fund. So you can see the total mill rate at $7.37. So these are the funds that we levy in, Fund 10, 39, 41, and 80. So I have 38 on there. We don't levy in that right now because we don't have any 38 fund debt. But it is something that's levied in, so I'll keep it here. So you'll see on the far right of that bottom table, our mill rate at $4.64 is just for our general operating. So in that $4.64 is the 21 cents that goes to the vouchers. The referendum approved debt is Fund 39, and that is at $2.47. And as Ken had pointed out earlier, that is our the partially to do with our existing debt that we had, but also the new debt that we have that was recently approved that we talked about would be no tax impact to our taxpayers. And in fact, it was no tax impact. Last year, that number was $2.52. So with the increase in the valuation of homes and properties, that actually decreased this year. And then we have 8 cents in our capital expansion fund, and then 19 cents in our Fund 80, our community service fund. So that equals the $7.37.
So I know we've talked about, the the equation that's out there of amount of, cents you should have per square footage of your buildings and such. So have you ever seen districts go to a larger amount for a capital expansion fund as they have various building needs and improvements, and obviously just with us now, more square footage?
Perhaps that could be a strategy that some school districts use, but one thing that is important to point out is that Fund 41 is within our revenue limit, meaning if we increase that, we're taking away from our operating fund. So it's not on top of that maximum revenue limit, it's within that. So it's a strategy we could use, but we would also have to think about what we were taking away from the operating, which is kind of another reason why we had started Fund 46. That's completely separate from the levy and something that we fund through transfers from Fund 10 at the end of the year if there's a surplus.
And that's 5 years before we can use it, correct?
Correct.
The 150, I think that's, like you say, we really can't move that much because you have to take it from somewhere else in operations. So do you roughly know how many years it's been at 150? We've been kind of pinned in there for maybe 5-6 years?
It's been at least that. It's been longer than I've been here. So it's been over. We actually under levied 1 year at 85,000 to try to put some more into our operating expenses. I'd have to look for you for sure, Ken, but I would say it's been at least 8 or more years. Yeah.
Which goes towards what you were saying earlier about Fund 46.
Correct.
Yeah.
But remind me again, with that fund, we only get money in there if we have a surplus at the end of the year to add to it.
Correct.
Which could be a problem in future years.
Correct. Yes. Okay, so we can go to the last slide, please. So this is our revised overall budget. So these are all the different funds that we work in. So at the annual meeting, we talked about the funds that the school districts have to report in, each of these having its own set of books and accounting standards. So this slide just kind of shows exactly what the revenues and the expenditures are for each one of those funds. And when we discuss surpluses or deficits or a balanced budget, we're really just talking about that top line, that general fund. So you can see our revenue is about 20.6 with our expenditures this year at 21.8. So we are predicting a $1.2 million deficit for the 25-26 school year in our operating fund. At the bottom of this slide, you can see that we have a all fund total, and it may seem confusing that we might be operating even more of a deficit because of the addition of all the funds together. But I just want to point out that most of the funds balance, if you look at them. Some of them don't. And one of them that I'll point out that significantly looks like it doesn't balance is Fund 39. So that's our referendum approved debt service fund. So this is part of our referendum or our debt service strategy that we've talked about that we've gone over with Baird, and the things that we've been doing to levy for our approved debt and the strategies that we've used. So this year we're going to levy that $4.6 million. Our payments are actually going to end up being about 7.6, and that's the levy that we've had I'll call it over levy, but we're not really over levying as it's already approved debt, but what we've been planning for in the previous few years. So that kind of makes it a little confusing, but we have to approve this as an all funds. But when we're talking on a general basis, we're really talking about that we're operating at a deficit of 1.2 million in the general fund. Any questions with that piece?
Just a question about, at the federal level with this Department of Education, Special Education Division, is there, and I know they do enforcement and grants and things, but does the money for special education come pretty exclusively from the state, or is there any funding coming from the Department of Education, special education area?
We do receive some grant funding, flow through IDEA funds and some grant funding, for special education. And there's a significant amount there that we receive. But I would say the majority of it, yes, is that reimbursement from the state.
Okay,
for Fund 27.
all right, thanks.
That is all I have for you tonight. Is there any other questions that you might have for me?
With this new, I did some back of the envelope calculations. Our fund balance for Fund 10 was at the end of the year, or at the end of this fiscal school year, 30.59. And if we do end up having the 1.2 approximate deficit, it would, at the end of the year, it would be 24.08%. Is that about right?
You know, I didn't calculate that, but I should have it handy.
But just, it's, I think that, it's about 24%.
Yes, yep,
Yep.
exactly.
So that's just something to note, that the fund balance significantly will decrease if it ends up that we spend everything that's budgeted and get everything that's that's in the budget, so.
And one of my goals this year too is to, as every year, but watch all of our, expenditures a lot closer, watching all our timesheets, everything, and having some monthly meetings and making sure that we're on track with everything, so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, I should say? Okay. All right. We will move on to the high school update with Mr. Vogel.
Well, hopefully this is a little lighter subject than Tasha's budget talk. Edge of my seat, but I'm glad you're doing that and doing a good job at it. Almost the end of first quarter. I'm sorry I missed you last month. We had something going on that Tanya was gracious for me to take off that night. I appreciate that. But number of things that have happened. I'll start with our Link Crew orientation. Our incoming freshmen were welcomed by our trained upperclassmen. Again, facilitated activities, tours, and different various transition sessions to help a smooth start to their high school career. They continue some of those activities, but most of those activities are once a month for those continuing of Link Crew. Class meetings, each grade level gathered to review and reinforce Lake Mills High School academic, behavioral, and cultural expectations, ensuring a number of clarity and consistency across the building. And Mr. Annan did a great job with those in the beginning of the year. Fall athletics, student participation numbers are strong, and all of our sports, cross-country, football, volleyball, soccer, and tennis, concerning our WA sports in the fall. Our student organizations are underway, including a couple new ones. I just want to highlight a new Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, under Ms. Garrow. She started that up. And then we also have a new National Art Honor Society led by Ms. Kirking, which she's doing a lot of cool stuff, getting more and more of our kids who love art involved in extracurricular stuff after school. NHS, our NHS, National Honor Society, had a blood drive earlier this month. Sorry to steal some of your thunder, Esteban, but I'm sure you're going to talk about that. Our goal was 50. We had 59 donors, 16 first-time donors. So we had some courage in Lake Mills High School in the fall, which is nice. 39 whole blood units collected, 14 red cell, I believe it's pints collected, and then total pints was 53. So that was great to see, and I believe they do another one in the spring. Athletic emergency response plan, a couple safety issues. Coaches, trainers, and staff reviewed the plan, emergency roles and procedures, looking at trying to increase our collective readiness and reinforcing our commitment to student spectator safety at practices and competitions. Staff safety training. All of our staff members in August engaged in work on safety protocols, emergency response training, and we also completed our annual lockdown drill earlier last week. Grade level teams, this is concerning some of our SAIL work. Our grade level teams, they've done a great job in their department and grade level concerning our SAIL plan, working on reading readiness and aligning their SLOs with that work, and looking to keep that momentum into our next 100-day plan with some work on November 5th with our SAIL coach and leadership team, and into our next SAIL workshop on November 10th. And you guys, some of you will hear a little bit more about that next Monday. But student leadership, elections for student council, class officers were completed. Technology integration, we've had several building-wide tech committee meetings focusing on our transition to one-to-one with our Chromebooks. There's some challenges with password login issues, support for some of our teachers, integrating that technology on a day-to-day basis. We do have some issues with our ability to connect in certain areas of the high school that we'll continue to work on with our tech department concerning sometimes with not enough access points in certain parts of the building. But that's to be expected, and hopefully some of that will be fixed in the near future. And I think some of the referendum work will help with that, especially downstairs. Homecoming was a success. This year's theme was Fantasyland. And again, I think another great job by our students and school community in kind of bringing everyone together for really a community celebration. We also had recently our 4th annual Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Fest. Again, really an opportunity with our Spanish department. Spanish Club hosted an all-day event in the LMC, open for all of our classes and high school students. A large number of classes visited throughout the day, really focusing on presentations of Latinx and Hispanic traditions, food, and music were just some of the topics for the day. And I know that Ms. Farello and the students involved in that are very, very proud of what they did concerning the 4th annual Heritage Fest. The mill is underway, our school district food pantry, of course operated by our Interact Club. It's been going since really the start of school, and again, that has gone very well and keeps them busy, along with a number of our students in our special education department helping out with that. Acknowledgements, I just want to take a special note to thank our teachers, admin assistants, district office staff, our bus drivers, Nick, our facility manager, custodians, Kathy, and the rest of the food service staff, our coaches, paraeducators, Officer Johnson, and Justin Annan for their dedication and for the work they have to get our building and our school year off to a great start. And again, another special thanks to our students and families. And just before I'm done, congrats to our soccer team for winning a regional title over the past weekend and play this Thursday at home, 7 p.m. Against Country Day. Is that right, Esteban? Yeah, Madison Country Day. Okay. That's all I have. I can keep going if you want. I can talk about some more stuff too, but any questions?
I was just going to say, do you feel like there might be a need for expanding the mill space with some of the potential needs coming up at the end of this month, next month, for families in our community and needing food? Is there even a space for them to expand to provide and help people?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a certain space that is needed right now. I think some with the reorganization of the downstairs area the next year or two allows us to have some more space for the mill, dedicated space, which would be nice. As far as I assume you're talking about with the federal government and things like that. I think we're okay, but if I can follow up with them and talk about some additional space, I can always find find something if needed, but I can talk to Kirsten and Betsy about that.
The other thing I was going to ask you, because kids have kind of been on their devices previously, before the one-on-one, right? So were they maybe pulling off of just like their data versus the Wi-Fi in the building? And that's kind of why we're noticing it now, is all these one-to-one devices are strictly on the Wi-Fi.
I have no idea, but
Because you had brought that up last month, and so I've kind of been like pondering this in my head, like we've had all these devices there, just not universal.
I think there's more when you have one-to-one. I mean, everyone has a device, and a majority of classes, they're on them. They're utilizing them in some way, shape, or form at some point during the 90-minute block. Back when we had Chromebook carts or lab carts, there might be a number of times where the class is not utilizing one-to-one. So now I think it's definitely utilized more. And on top of that, I know you're going to talk about cell phones later, but we do, a number of our staff have said that they're, again, not perfect, but there have been less cell phone distractions because of having the Chromebooks one-to-one in the building, so.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Gail.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, we'll turn it over to Miss Schleeschlab. Bring that down a little bit.
Good evening. I am here to just give a recap of last year's required standardized testing data, where that put us, and where we're going to go from there. So before you now are the required assessments that we have to give. It's not all of the assessments that are available or that students engage in. And so we evaluate students through state measurements beginning in kindergarten with the reading readiness screener, and that goes through third grade. And then we have the Ford exam, and we have ACT, pre-ACT secure. Those are all required. And so we get math and ELA data on our students every year beginning in third grade. Science and social studies a little less. Social studies we only get in grades 4, 8, and 10. Science we get 4, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So we don't quite have as much data in all of the subject areas, but we do get a lot. Now, as I've said in the past, it is standardized assessments. It's usually 1-2 days. But it does provide us some pretty good information. So we wanted to take a little bit of time and go through that with you. Next slide. So last year, as part of my plan and my goals, it was to increase our assessment participation in grades 5 through 8. Over the past few years, we had seen a pretty significant number of opt-outs coming from our middle school. And so working with Mr. Olson and talking with other neighboring directors, really making sure that we were having those conversations with families, that we were ensuring teachers and students really understood the purpose of these assessments. So increasing that participation rate was one goal, and the other goal was to increase proficiency by 5% on all of our standardized assessments in both ELA and mathematics. Next slide, thank you. So we hit our goal of increasing our assessment participation in grades 5 through 8. So you can see that even as recent, like in 2024, we were at 82% of 5th through 8th graders took the Forward exam. Last year, we were at 92%. And that was due to, again, the conversations that teachers were having with students, that Mr. Olson was having with families, that I was having with families, and also just reminding families of the importance of those, I think also played a part. My goal is to get that a bit higher still this year. In terms of increasing proficiency, the positive is we saw an increase in proficiency across the board. We didn't hit 5% in every subject area at all levels, though. So we're going to continue that goal this year with the work of our SAIL teams. This goal is tied to each of their plans as well. And so we have a lot of people working towards the same goal versus me kind of doing that overreaching goal with some professional learning tied to it. So our highest percentage was in the middle school with a 13% increase in ELA. Part of that is due to the number of students who took the assessment, but also we saw significant increases coming out of our 6th grade ELA courses. They were working some pretty strong standards-aligned instruction last year, and we saw some great benefit for those students. Next slide. To give you an idea of where we are now this year. So this is a snapshot out of NextPath, which is our data warehouse. This is the number of personal reading plans that are required for us based on our fall screening data of our students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. AimsWeb did renorm over the summer, so we can't compare last year's data to this year. So that's unfortunate. However, we're seeing what we would expect is an improvement or a drop in the number of students. We had quite a few students who engaged in tutoring and summer school intervention over the summer, more than we've ever seen, and that also played a part here. So, you know, when we look at our kindergarten and only 3 students aren't where they should be coming into kindergarten, that's pretty great. And even going into 1st grade, there were 5 total students, which means that what we were doing in kindergarten last year was preparing our students for 1st grade this year. And we're going to continue to work and exit students off those plans this year through intentional intervention, through our reading teachers and our classroom teachers. Next slide. Okay, this slide has a lot of stuff on it, but I wanted to show you kind of like the trends across the district for the last 2 years. So the forward exam, kind of the same thing, renormed, updated with new, all the new questions, so only for the past 2 years. So that's why I only included 2 years worth of data. So in that darker blue, you have last 2024, and black is the most recent. You know, I mentioned that there were some, you can see like these are their proficiency rates. So we're talking proficiency rates with those stars at 65% or higher. The state average is about 50. So we are at or above the state average in every grade level. I would caution the data. So I have cohort up here. So it's their graduation year, not their current year in school, because that got wonky, right? Because the class of 2033, they would have been in 3rd grade for one of the years and 4th grade for another. So, but you can see that we are making some jumps on the forward exam, 3rd through 8th. We had one drop, and so I'm working with Wendy, and we've been digging into that along with Michelle Cook to figure out where we need to support that group of learners. Looking at the teal and gray, that's our pre-ACT Secure. That's an assessment. It's like a, it's 9th and 10th graders. And I compared that for the class of 2028, I compared that to their forward exam results. And so we saw an increase in that. Again, we did see a little bit of a dip for that class of 2027, so something we're going to dig into further. And then an increase from the pre-ACT for our class of 2026 to their ACT score, which is what we want to see. We'd like to see it higher, but Kale's doing some great work this year, continuing the reading, the college readiness standards for reading through ACT, which is going to continue to help us improve those scores as well.
Are the ACTs taken by only college-bound kids, or is it taken by everybody?
The state requires that we test every junior
Okay.
with the ACT plus writing. Okay. The next slide is focused on mathematics. So it's the same setup. Again, highlighting the fact that we are above the state average across the board. And that we're seeing those increases. Again, we saw that dip in the class of 2033. We're doing some work around that group of kids specifically to see what we can do to support them as learners. And that huge jump in the class of 2031, it's amazing to see. And then again, looking at why we saw a dip for the class of 2030, digging in a little bit more for that. We are piloting a new middle school math curriculum because we weren't using something, the teachers were doing a lot of work to ensure it was standards aligned, and it was taking a lot of time, and it just wasn't as effective for students. And then you can see our pre-ACT and ACT data for math as well. As I mentioned, we don't test as much in science, so I can't necessarily show you cohort data because there's not 4 years worth of cohort data yet. But as you can tell, elementary based on the Ford exam for science, we are scoring significantly higher than the state. We are at almost 60%. We drop, I will say we drop when we go into 8th grade, but we also know about that participation piece, right? That we don't have every student participating, so I don't know how accurate those results are. And then science is done on the pre-ACT. And so again, this is the first time that I've really dug into the science data. I've been really busy at the elementary with math and ELA. So this is my next area of focus, is digging into some of our high school data. Next up is social studies. Again, at the elementary school, so this would be 4th graders. While they may have taken a dip in some other areas, they hit 75% proficient in the social studies test on the Ford exam, which is higher than the previous class. So they have skills, and we're trying to figure out how to get them to apply them across the board. Again, we see that dip in 8th grade. Again, the participation plays a part, and then we are back up at above 60% in 10th grade. So continuous improvement. So what are we doing about all of this? So that's all the data from last year. A reminder, most of those tests are taken in March and April. So each building has a SAIL team. It's focused on 100-day plans to move their building forward. They have very specific goals, and they have to set step-by-step plans on how they're going to achieve it. They break that work up amongst their team. They take it out to their grade level teams. Additionally, we're beginning K-12 curriculum implementation walkthroughs. So those have started at the elementary school. So we took a teacher from every grade level, the literacy interventionists, as well as Brad and Wendy, and we visited all the classrooms looking for what is going really well, what are some things that they could use in their own classrooms, and just kind of looking for ideas and trends for what we could continue to support through professional development. We do math ones next week. And then also doing those in the other 2 buildings as well with administration right now. And that is to develop a system of like, what are those high leverage teaching strategies that we want to see in every classroom? So seeing what's happening and then getting that teacher perspective of what's working well and what they're seeing students engage in. We're going to keep doing our implementation of our curriculum. There we go, thanks. So we have year 2 of K-5 ELA, year 3 of math for K-5. So we're starting to hit our stride, but it still takes very purposeful professional learning. ELA and grades 6-8 are piloting a new resource come January. And then math is currently piloting Amplified Desmos Math, and then they're going to pilot a second semester. The team felt strongly about piloting 2 resources to figure out what was best for the students that they're currently serving. And as I mentioned, Kale's continuing his work with the reading readiness with support of Caitlin Enton, who is a reading specialist out of the district, but phenomenal. Now, there's a lot. Are there any questions?
Can I ask, is the SAIL team 100-day plan goal focus different than what the principals at each building present on their goals? Are those different things?
They're all aligned. So the district strategic plan, we built our district SAIL goals off of those. And the buildings then their building goal is tied to at least one of our district goals. So for example, the increase of 5% proficiency or growth, you're going to see that tied into building plans. So their building goals are the same as their SAIL goals this year, and those are all tied together.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Aaron, it's some really encouraging results. Appreciate that. Could you talk a little more about the relationship? You increased by 10% participation, which kind of bumped the score a little bit. How does that?
Yeah, so that was our overall middle school participation. So that was 5th through 8th grade, was up to 92%. Unfortunately, we still had 20% of 8th graders opt out last year.
Oh. Okay.
So that still impacted that data. So the state statute says that parents can opt their students out in grades 4, 8, and 9 through 11. There are certain circumstances where parents can request to opt out during other grade levels, and sometimes that's because of a mental health challenge or a hospitalization or a recent trauma. And then those are ones that we look at on a like per pupil basis, just in terms of what is best for that student.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Abby.
You're piloting math for the middle school 6 through 8.
Yes.
How long is the current, and you're not the piloted ones, but how long have you been currently using what's in place right now?
CPM. We've been using CPM for, I want to say it's about 7+ years.
7, okay.
I was like, I know someone's here. 7. Tracy vouched for that.
Thanks.
Others?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, we are moving on to board reports, and I will introduce our CAPE Citizens Advocates for Public Education presenters.
Thank you, Amy. I'll just wait for the presentation to come up. There we go. Can you go to the next slide, please? So back in 2013, Jim Shaw, Steve Bauer, and I got connected over a variety of issues, and we started to talk about the importance of public education and the need to advocate for strong schools, strong public schools. So we decided the best way to start was locally, and after a series of community conversations, we launched Citizen Advocates for Public Education. Our mission has always been to support and advocate for quality public education in Lake Mills. We now have an email list of about 300 people. We have 868 followers on our Facebook page, and we are trying to expand our Instagram exposure as well, based on a recommendation from high school students who we worked with on a marketing plan. Our members and friends come from a variety of backgrounds and a variety of ages. We know that our public schools are the heart of our community and a foundation of our democracy. We seek to provide information about current educational issues and are affiliated with a statewide group called the Wisconsin Public Education Network, which is a statewide coalition of public education advocates. Deb Galstead is going to talk about a few of the activities that we've been engaged in over the years.
Hello, my name is Deb Galstead. I'm also a first grade teacher. Some of the things that we do to support staff include welcoming them at the start of the school year, usually with snacks and treats of some sort. Assisting elementary teachers setting up their classrooms because,
Could we get the next slides, please? There we go.
assisting elementary teachers in setting up their classrooms because they have lots of projects to put together before the start of the year. And then throughout the school year, if say a grade level or a teacher needs to reorganize their library or they have a special project for their unit, they can ask for volunteers and we will connect them with our volunteers to come in and assist them as needed. Okay. We do donate to all kinds of causes to support public education, including to the mill, donating to the Jenny Nichols Memorial Outdoor Learning Center, high school, and also we sponsor the sports program, the athletic program. And then in the spring, we offer something called Operation Recess so that the elementary teachers can get a little bit of time to start to wrap up things in their classroom while volunteers take their students out for a special recess time. So some of the other things that we do throughout the year are acknowledge and help celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week, Public Schools Week, and American Education Week. And we hang a big banner over Main Street to just support and remind people about the great things in public schools. So,
Deb, I just want a quick comment on that banner. As you know, that's the first week of May, and we do a lot of hiring in May. I had more potential teacher candidates comment on that banner over Highway 89 and just saying like, wow, like as we drove into this community, we could just tell it supported education. So, I mean, that actually helped us with the hiring process as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that feedback. So.
And then beyond our local community, we work continuously to advocate for our public schools. First of all, informing the public in as many ways as possible, and then coordinating with the Wisconsin Public Education Network and other advocacy groups across the state who are working for strong public schools. We do face a lot of challenges, and Tasha, everything you said matches exactly with what we've learned and what we're working on at the statewide level. So we'll go to the next slide. One of the challenges is state funding, and as Tasha reported, since 2009, there's not been an inflationary increase in the amount of money that we can spend locally on our public school students. Therefore, we've created this very disparate situation across the state where some school districts can spend $26,000 per student, and school districts like ours are limited to the amount that Tasha mentioned for you. Also, in the 25-27 biennium, the local public schools will only get a reimbursement rate for special education costs at about the 40% level, where schools that are in the private voucher program receive a 90% reimbursement rate in their special education costs. And that leads to the next slide. And then again, another one that Tasha brought up and talked about was the challenges that we face for privatization of and privatization efforts across the state. Those come in the form of both voucher schools and independent charter schools. And you'll note in the top bullet that for the biennium, the 25-27 biennium, our $1,836,391,400 will be paid through our tax dollars for 415 voucher schools and 33 independent charter schools. And Ken, you asked about this cap that's been in place, and I was able to quickly find some information about that. The cap on Wisconsin statewide private school voucher program enrollment is set to expire, like you said, at the end of the 25-26 school year, with no enrollment limit applying beginning in the 26-27 school year. So what that means is, for previously, limited participation was in effect to a percentage of each school district's enrollment increased by 1% annually until the final year, which is this year, and it will be lifted completely. So starting next year, the enrollment cap is set to be lifted entirely, meaning there will be no limit on the number of students from individual districts who can participate in the statewide program. Previously, there have been those limits, and they've been increased by 1% a year. But once those limits go away, the impact includes a significant expansion of the program as it removes a major constraint on growth. And public school advocates are very concerned about this expansion, straining public school resources, which we know are already strained to a great degree. So we are working with people across the state, and just one thing I'd like to remind us of, thing that comes up statewide is the fact that our state constitution says, and I have the words right here, the Wisconsin Constitution requires the legislature to provide for a public school system that is free to all children between the ages of 4 and 20. Key provisions include establishing district schools that are nearly as uniform as practicable, prohibiting sectarian instruction, and ensuring the supervision of public instruction is vested in a state superintendent. The state also has a duty to guarantee a basic educational opportunity for all students, and its aid system helps reduce reliance on local property taxes and ensure quality across districts. This is the state that we are at right now, and there is conversations that I have heard about a challenge to the fact that we're not upholding our state constitution by providing this basic educational opportunity that is equitable for all students across the states, across our state. And I can keep you posted on developments with that. With that, are there any questions that you have for us? And before I do that, could we go to the next slide? This is our board right now. 5 of the 6 of us are here. So I just want to mention, Deb Gallstead is behind me. And Donna Grzinski, Peg Stores, and Joanne Russo. And we've been working we keep working on supporting our public schools as much as we possibly can. Any questions for me?
I was just going to say thank you for your support. I mean, not only in Lake Mills, but like you said, across the state, and being an advocate for all kids, really. And, you know, taking a look at the names and faces, you are in the building, and so you know what's going on, your boots on the ground. You are well aware of what kids need, and so thank you for your continued advocacy for them.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Any other questions?
I'd just say I would agree, we all would agree with that.
And I want to thank each of you for your willingness to serve on our local school board, because I know it takes a lot of your time and a lot of your energy, and we really appreciate all that you do for our kids in our public schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you. All right. We will move on to the policy committee update.
Yeah, so we are on our first reading of the policies, and the attachment there is a really great breakout, just high-level overview of kind of what's happening within each one that is being changed. Andrea and I and Tanya met about a month and a half ago, so it's been a while, but I would say some of the ones that we had kind of talked about as we were having our meeting, you might have seen filter through an email that, you know, Tanya followed up with kind of some explanations of things that we had already asked. One of the ones in there was one that we had currently, you know, been using and crafted ourselves, and now considering moving to the Neola version, and that was definitely one that we looked at together, like, okay, hey, what in here makes sense with what we're doing? And then the other one, just kind of high-level overview, was that 6320, which is the potential increase for purchasing and not having to come to the board currently at 10,000, but to increase that to 25,000. So I would say those are our biggest high-level overviews for what's coming. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out and ask.
Are there any questions currently? Because this is our first reading, and these will come back for the second reading next month.
Just a question on the academic honesty policy with AI. I think that's 5505. It looks like there's been some changes either at the state level or where we're citing work that's being done to manage the AI. Is that fair to say we're following like a state level?
Yeah, and a lot of that, I think, our discussion too is about like those early college credits and trying to kind of make everything uniform. Like that's always our goal in the policies, is other policies that we have and things that we do, just kind of uniform, making sure everything's uniform within it.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, we will move on to our student representative, Esteban.
Yeah, so first I wanted to talk about the sports. We've had incredible fall sports this year. Our volleyball team unfortunately lost Saturday night in the regional championship to Kettle Moraine Lutheran. Our cross country team had a very successful year, although none of our athletes went to state. But tennis had two athletes go to state. Grace Cinnamon and Molly Cooper both went to state for the doubles. They were able to win their first match at state, which was awesome. Football, they play on Friday night in Racine against the St. Cats, which we've played for the past 2 years. That'll be a great game to watch. And then, as Mr. Vogel said, the soccer team won on Saturday night for the regional championship. And we play again on Thursday at Saturday. So that'll be a really good game to watch as well. The team that we play had upset the school that we were supposed to play, so that'll be an interesting match to watch. With the NHS blood drive, it went very well. As Mr. Vogel said, we had 16 new applicants, so a lot of people are going out. I did want to say that we should try to do a better job of advocating for it. There was I mean, personally, I didn't really see anything till the week of that was about the blood drive. So I'd like to see more of around the school, advertisements, I guess, for the blood drive. which would be really cool. And
I think it's because their advisor is on maternity leave.
that could also be it. And FBLA, I also want to talk about. They had 2 meetings. I went to the first meeting, and looked like there's going to be a pretty good turnout. There's a decent amount of all grade levels that want to participate, so that's a really cool club that I'd like to see more of. And then the phone policy, which we'll be talking about next for the board reports. I just asked the board members to take in consideration the student survey answers. I was talking to a lot of the students over the past couple of weeks about the survey because it came out, and a lot of them say, like, oh, why does it matter? They're not going to take us into consideration anyways. We're just there to fill surveys. So I just do ask that we are considered, because a lot of the students feel that they will not be heard with that. So that's it for now.
I was just going to say, I appreciate them sharing that and their willingness to speak out. And I think that is, I'll speak for myself. You guys can comment on your own, but I would say that is why we ask for surveys, is because we want to hear the voices, and we really do care, whether it be a student survey, the teacher surveys. We've asked for them and we want to hear it. So yes, we will be hopefully hearing the results, reports, reading the comments. So yes, thank you.
And I'd just like to add that I think every member of the board probably has a passion of where their students, their kids are in this school. So I'll just speak personally for myself that I have a high schooler, and I will listen to what you guys have to say. And also just from a standpoint of where I'm at in the business world in HR, I think these have become an extension of computers, and I use mine. It sits in meetings with me. I'm on it all day. So I think there is a fine line with responsible use, and, younger kids probably don't need it as much as, teaching responsible use as you get older. So we will listen to you.
Yeah, and I think with the computers, that like the one-to-one computers, that it is like cutting back on the phone usage in class, because we're not using them for like online assignments as much because we have those computers with us. And also the internet the students don't have personal access to the internet, so there's not like, you can't really even use your phone for like online games or stuff like that. So they're like, the phones are becoming less and less of a problem as the school goes on, in my eyes.
All right. Thank you, Esteban. All right, moving on to, naturally leads into the student cell phone use.
Yeah, I mean, that was a nice segue. I received an email from School Perceptions right before this meeting, so I updated that. They said we have 749 responses for the staff and parent survey, and 332 responses for the high school students, which is almost everybody. They did grant me access just at the end of last week. I'll be granting access to the administrators and the school board so that you'll be able to see the raw data. At this point, I didn't think it was necessary to have School Perceptions come back and do a summary of this, because you're going to be creating your policy based on that. It was nice to see, like I said, I just took a quick look. I would say pretty opposite opinions from the high school so far than maybe some staff and some parents. But I was glad to see how many comments there were on the survey from both the parents and staff and the students. So yeah, I think the board, will have a lot of work to do to see which direction you want to take with that. We still haven't heard anything from the governor's office to see where that bill is sitting. I know it's, as far as I know, on his desk, waiting to see if that's going to be signed or not. I don't think if that gets signed or not signed, I don't think it'll really impact what we are doing here with our own policies, because that bill was not very restrictive. I don't think it would, I guess, cause us to change anything that we were going to do with our policy.
All right, and moving on to facilities referendum updates. So,
Oh, yes, I forgot. We have a fun little slideshow in here. If you haven't been watching our Facebook presence, I thought it would just be nice for those of you that don't do that to see some of the fun pictures that we had from the groundbreaking last Friday. Because it was an elementary groundbreaking, we did try to make it a little bit more developmentally appropriate for our 4, 5, and 6-year-olds that were in attendance. So you can see there that Principal Brad Smith led us off, along with Principal Salam. And then we also had Amy Litcher there greeting all of our participants. So we had a nice selection of CAT team members in attendance. And so John Winch, who is our representative from Findorf, was also up there to help explain to the kids kind of what the safety clothing is that they're going to start seeing around school. That's our Findorf team that was recognized. And I have to say, just on this slide, I don't know if people realize the impact of who attended our groundbreaking from Findorf, but these were the people that were completely in charge of Findorf. So they came out in full support. So it was nice to see their CEOs there. There's John demonstrating the hard hat and the safety vests and things like that for the kids. And then it was just a fun culmination. We didn't tell anybody that we were going to announce our Rotary Teacher of the Month, and we knew that Chris Shanafeld was going to get up there and lead the school song, which you ever get the opportunity to see Chris lead out the school song. He has his electric guitar, and the kids are just all about it and shouting, and singing. And so right before we got up there, I kind of did a lead in about Chris and how great he is, and then said, and by the way, he's the Rotary Teacher of the Month. And then the kids were cheering, and then he went on and did the school song. And if that's not the cutest picture you ever want to see, with our 4-year-olds with their shovels breaking ground on the facilities that hopefully their younger siblings and kids coming through the system will get to take advantage of. There's our 4K and early learning staff with the pictures, and then several of our school staff members there as well. And there's more. There's our CAT team members. And then finally, again, we've got some of the Findorf team that took a picture there. And just coincidentally, we have our state representative, Joan Fitzgerald, in the audience. And we had, I gotta say, we are very honored to have the support of our 2 state legislators, as she was there, and also Senator Ratcliffe was in attendance. And our construction foreman came up to me and said, I think that was my high school math teacher in Jefferson. And I said, you are correct. She's now our state representative. So we had to make sure we took a very special picture, but also to see how important education is and how that comes full circle, and the math that he obviously uses in his job. And so the importance of our teachers, and then how that just is a lifelong skill. So I thought that was just a cool connection that we weren't planning. And so that's just a quick update on the groundbreaking. We have other updates. So as of Monday, then we did start the excavation of that site. Poor Holly Smith had to listen to jackhammers right outside of her classroom as they removed the concrete, excavated the dirt on that site. Fortunately, we did have to take down the trees that were on the border because the building will extend into that, but we are required to do new site plantings there. So, and I can't say enough about the elementary staff, and I mean the entire elementary staff, because when you have to rework parent pickup and drop off for 600 kids and it goes smoothly without a hitch. When I was out there that Thursday when everything got rerouted, every single staff member was out there one-on-one with kids, making sure they got into their cars safely. We had 4K teachers and paras buckling kids in to make sure that we were able to move move things along so that parents wouldn't have to get out of their car. The parents were very gracious. They were very patient. I saw, traffic crossing where the buses had to come into the elementary lot, and people were just really respectful and understood, that need for safety, but also the need for patience. So I can't say enough, we already know how great our elementary staff is, but they really showed it, this past week with the parent pickup drop-off. So kudos to all of you. And we have also, on top of doing all of that, the solar racking went on top of the buildings. So as we were rerouting the elementary pickup and drop-off, they're also putting the racking for the solar panels up on the roof that same exact day. So there's a lot of coordination for that. We thank Nick Beslick for managing several different things that were going on in the district at that time. And also, I know Chuck had to manage the parent pickup drop-off as well because of the drop-off for the racking for the solar that had to be put on top of that roof via crane. That was a much taller roof because we were in the back of the middle school when that was going up in the rain. And I know the students weren't too distracted by watching that get lifted up onto the roof. And we finally got the final site plan review for the high school addition. I think I'm just about completed my city council meetings to get all of the permits through. And I think finally I didn't put this in because it just occurred on Friday, but the most exciting thing that I've been part of was the high school students in Mark Hacker's marketing class kind of caught wind of the gym design. And I thought it was a pretty cool gym design, right, Amy, with the sound panels? Well, they came to us and said that it looks very elementary to us. And they spent many days and many hours investigating high school gymnasiums across the state, put together a marketing proposal. They called in our designer from EUA, myself, and Teresa Wadinsky, and we sat through a marketing proposal from that class. And it was phenomenal, and we will be making changes that we'll be bringing forward to the next core team meeting based on their proposal that they made to us. While we were in there, we showed them the high school cafeteria, and they gave us quite a bit of feedback on that too, which I think is going to be helpful. So they're the ones that are living in this space. They're ones that are going to use this space. And they started out with that, even though most of them are seniors, they had 18 siblings that are coming through the system in the next several years. So they were very cognizant of the students that were going to be using that space. So lots of student voice in the project.
All right. Any questions?
I was just gonna say, thanks for listening to them. I guess, kind of hearing the middle school one, because that was the most recent, we had the middle school input, right, on kind of some of those things. So I'm glad that the high schoolers got to have some say, because they'll even come back as alumni and be like, hey, I had a hand in this, right? So I think that just helps them feel as though I am part of this. This is mine, right? Question as far as, I know last time we had heard from you that we were kind of questionable on some of the solar panel grants or money that we were getting. Do you have a spreadsheet update on budget-wise for that and how that's going and what's come in?
We're just waiting. So we have another meeting. Basically, the money is in the hands of the state, which is good news because I know that the money at the federal level has been questionable. So we were supposed to meet with the person from the Public Service Commission on Friday. He was out sick, so we're meeting with him on Wednesday just to answer some final questions on the waivers. Once we submit the waivers, it's just a 90-day wait for that approval. He didn't seem to think that it was going to be an issue. We're meeting here in about 2 weeks to circle back around on the other grants. Again, we're about $25,000 ahead of where we expected to with the acquisition of grants. And then that final stage will be after the waiver. We'll apply for the 40% direct pay. So I met with Bill McDowell this morning. the original proposal to the board was that when this all goes through, it'd be a 3-year payback. We're at a point of it's a 0 payback because of the savings that we're seeing district-wide. So he's going to update, he's working with Greg Hoffman at WPPI, and he's also going to update his numbers as far as energy savings. You've seen some other information on inflation, but they're expecting utility bills to go up between 3 and 4.5%. So the timing for this project is very good as well as far as savings on utilities. So he thinks that the savings are going to actually increase just due to the size of the solar array in the middle school, and I know he would like to approach the board as far as considering solar on the new gym rooftop at the high school when that's completed.
So with the savings that he's currently projecting, have we worked that into our next budget, and does it do anything to our deficit? Yeah, or like the projected next year budget?
Yeah, it shouldn't be coming out of anything out of the normal Fund 10 operating budget.
It would come out of the referendum, right, the referendum
Stuff the
dollars.
bonds.
No, but I mean like the savings from utilities, right? Our
okay.
utilities wouldn't be as high, so is that
Correct.
kind of projected out for us then? Does that make a difference?
I mean, it's something I can take into consideration for the 26-27 school year, moving forward.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. And now, Facility Committee. Ken and we can all do it together.
Yeah, feel free to jump in. I just made a few notes here. Yeah, from the exciting things in the referendum to we still have things going on outside of the referendum, just like any other year, basically. So, and I think also because of, I guess, tighter funding and, the challenges with funding, there is more emphasis being put on our long-range facilities plan, really as a way to, in the end, to be able to budget better for, and plan better for expenditures. The two probably more exciting things that come up in the discussions are roofs and pavement. But there was a lot of good discussion on this. We're just really, I think, at a good spot to kind of proceed with the development of a longer-term plan. We also discussed the 150,000, and could we increase that? But as we've said, that comes out of operations.
I was able to take a look while we were doing the other presentations. It's since 2012-13 that we've been doing 150,000, with the exception of 1 year.
Okay. Good. Let's see. We did talk about the board meeting twice a year on this specific topic of long-term budget planning. And the suggestion was early spring and late fall. Maybe I had that backwards, I don't know.
Yeah. Can you clarify, what do you mean by like long-term budget planning?
It's like the 10-year plan, basically.
Like looking at our long-term facilities
Yeah,
plan?
the long-term 10-year facilities plan.
Okay.
And then there is a kind of a 2 to 3 year window as well that gets probably, more what's right out in front of us. But taking that into consideration with where does that make us sit 7, 8 years from now, or 10 years. And that 10-year facility plan is required by DPI, or is it DPI?
For Fund 46, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought it was a very healthy discussion. We had a lot of in-depth discussions on things somewhat detailed, so I think it's a good start.
And the 10-year plan eventually, hopefully after a few more meetings, but will go up on the website. So the updated 10-year plan will be viewable by the public. So
Amy, it's up on the website.
it is up on the, fantastic. So, all right. Any other questions? All right, we will move on to community input. And we have one group signed up, the LMEA, Tracy Voigt and Deb Galstead.
Hi, I'm Tracy Voigt. I teach 7th grade math at the middle school. The Lake Mills Education Association would like to celebrate a great start to the school year. Our educators continue to go above and beyond for our students who are making great strides in meeting learning goals. The elementary and middle school are halfway through our fall parent-teacher conferences, and they have been well attended so far, and we are having a great opportunity to partner with families to celebrate and support our student success. High school parent-teacher conferences will be upcoming in November, and the high school teachers look forward to the opportunity to collaborate with families.
Deb Galstead, and I teach first grade, and I'm a building rep for the union. We would like to acknowledge and thank the board for the stipend that was given to the professional staff this year and for participating with us in the bargaining process. Working together ensures the best results for our educators, our students, and for our community. So thank you for responding to our concerns regarding educator compensation during the bargaining process, and we look forward to continued collaboration. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other people signed up for community input, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. This month's consent agenda includes the approval of the following: September 15 regular meeting minutes, September 16 policy committee proceedings, September 17th and October 21st facilities proceedings, October 6th finance personnel proceedings, treasurer's report and vouchers and invoices, and the personnel report.
I'll move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Is there any specific line item that people would like to discuss or have questions about? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale. Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, moving on to 6A action items, the 2025-26 revised budget and tax levy.
Okay. I'll move the board, we want the motion?
Yep, absolutely.
I'll move the board approve the 2025-2026 school year total revenue budget of $47,215,762 for all funds, and the total expenditure budget of $51,246,690 for all funds, with a tax levy of $13,816,793 for all funds. The tax levy is a mill rate of 7.37. This levy includes all budget adjustments that have been incurred since the annual meeting on September 16th, 2025.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion following the presentation by Ms. Naylor? Is there any further discussion or questions? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, moving on to 6B, schedule, date, and time of the 2026 annual meeting. We have to set that officially and have it be part of the board minutes, so.
I move that the 2026 budget hearing begin at 5:30 PM on Monday, September 21st, 2026, and that the annual meeting be held immediately following the adjournment of the budget hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any questions, discussion? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, moving on to the Start College Now requests. And the district
will permit residents, high school students who've completed the 10th grade and who meet the eligibility criteria to take courses at a technical college in the Wisconsin Technical College system for the purpose of earning both high school and post-secondary credits. So this is an annual, this is a semi-annual request by the students that have submitted the forms and would like to take classes through that program. So
I'll move the board approve the Start College Now requests as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, moving on to the early college credit now. And first, the first one was for the technical college classes, and now this one is for the four-year college degree classes open that are open to select students. So
I'll move the board approve the early college credit requests as presented.
I will second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions?
I did have a question. I think it's, I'm having problems finding it. I think it's on the, one of the documents didn't have the signature of the principal and the counselor. It might have been on the
Start College Now?
Start College Now.
All right, we'll make sure that gets signed.
Okay.
Have to go back and look at that.
All right.
It's just something to know if, you know, yeah.
Are there any other comments about the early college credit program? Motion? All right, I will ask for a roll call vote on that motion.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, moving on to the early graduation requests. And these are the students that, the high school students that have submitted, that have, their applications have been submitted, and they're requesting early graduation. So,
I think this is the one I saw where it didn't
have
the boxes checked.
Yep.
That was probably the one, so we discussed that ahead of the meeting, so he will be resubmitting that form.
Okay.
Do you still meet with these kids, Tanya, when they
I do.
bring these in? Okay.
I'll be doing their exit survey with them here in the next month. So it is interesting because I know I started doing that just because I wanted to find out more information. So, I mean, I thought looking at this, it's a celebration of how successful our LEAP program has been at the high school. And we are seeing far less students want to graduate or for the explicit purpose of going on and saving money to go to our technical colleges when really that is built in through the Start College Now process. So I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, we get to see, I mean, the letter that they write, and so just, I think those extra questions just give us really great insight as where we can learn and grow, and things we're doing great already. So, awesome. Glad that still happens. Okay, I'll move that the board approve the 10 applicants for early graduation and extend our congratulations to them on their upcoming achievement with everything that was discussed prior to the meeting.
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right. As discussed by our representatives from CAPE, they are part of the Wisconsin Public Education Network, and we are also having a partnership with them. So I will ask for a motion to approve the annual partnership. There's nothing in there, but I will make a motion that the board renew the WPN partnership for this 2025-26 school year.
I would second that motion.
Okay. It's been Motioned and approved, or motioned and seconded. Is there any further questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. And now we are on to the action item part, the gifts. Again, so greatly appreciated to the community and all those out there in TV land. And just the amount of gifts that are given to this public school system is amazing by this community. So,
I'll move that the board accept the generous donations and thank the donors for their continued support for our students and programs here in the Lake Mills Area School District. We have got the Daughters of St. Mary Magdalene Catholic Church donated some school supplies as well as a monetary donation valued at approximately $225. There was an anonymous donor who gifted breast cancer awareness soccer jerseys to the high school soccer program valued at approximately $1,000. The bank, CMG and Culver's sponsored a back-to-school fundraiser, contributing approximately $250 in school supplies, as well as $1,336 in donations and $500 from Culver's, as well as Dr. Joe Boyson of Lake Mills Family Dental donated $3,000 to the mill, and an anonymous donation of $6,000 to the mill.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and just again, generous beyond belief. So, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that motion.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, moving on to 7A, future agenda items. For the next month's meeting, there will be the audit report from Whipfleet, thank you. The review of the district budget development calendar, presentation request by the LMES PTO and Art and Education, school improvement goals, updates from the principals, and the district goal update. So,
Would it be possible at some point to bring back our 2 marketing kiddos with our youth apprenticeship program who've been, I'm sure, working a ton on all the things we've just seen tonight and just how that's going and their perspective?
Yeah, they'd love that.
Well, right now they're at football practice.
Well, hopefully they're working on some projects for us after football.
all right. And, all right, so then now we will move into executive session pending the motion.
Sure, I'll move to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically the district administrator's goals and evaluation.
Okay. Second?
I will second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote on the motion?
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Abby Hale.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. We are now in executive session.